Welcome back, SmythOS innovators. In this video, we are diving into a crucial skill for efficient agent development, exporting and importing agent components. This powerful feature allows you to reuse and share your carefully created components across different projects. Mike, can you show us how to export agent components in SmythOS?
All right, so what we're going to do here is talk about two different ways. First of all, we're going to take an extremely simple use case that is for demonstration purposes, and this is definitely not what you would want to do normally, is replace one API call with the other. But in the case of, for example, creating a file, if you were actually to go and create a file inside of, for example, Google Drive, you would want to identify and get the ID of the folder. You would want to go ahead and get the files that are there to make sure you're using a unique name. You're not trying to create one or overwrite the existing file. A bunch of things that you'd want to do in an actual file creator that was not just meant to hold basics like this, but actually to store a file. In those cases, those agents can tend to get pretty complex in and of themselves. They're not a core part of what you're trying to do. And so it makes a lot of sense to extract that and put it into a separate agent and then use that agent inside of yours.
Interesting. So we are starting with a simple example to illustrate the concept. Mike, can you walk us through creating this simple agent?
So we're going to pretend we're doing all of that hard work and in this particular call. So what I'm going to do is, if you recall earlier, I went ahead and used the Control-C to go ahead and grab this API call. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text file agent, an agent just to create text files and store them and hand back a URL with the location of that text file. Anybody have any questions on this really quick? Okay, good. So this is going to seem silly, but what we're going to do here is create an okay. Now we're going to go ahead and drop in our component that creates a text file. Can anyone tell me what I need to put before and after this component? Come on, you can do it. All right. The first thing we need to put, and I know people are getting sick of it, thank you, an API endpoint and an API output. Okay. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and add our endpoint and call it create text file. We're going to expose that to the API.
That's a great practical example. Now, can you show us how to set up the API endpoints and outputs for this agent?
This is super duper simple. So we've got an API endpoint here. We need to give it a pretty good name here. This is going to be exposed to the AI. And the reason we're going to expose it to the AI is so that we can use it as an agent. We're going to go ahead and pop this to a production domain. We're going to go ahead and expose this. We're going to identify it as broken. We're going to identify the specific where we're going to deploy it. All right. So can anybody tell me what we need to do next here to make this an independent agent? What do I need to add to the API endpoint? Thank you. Thank you, Sumbo. So we are going to call this raw text. There we go. So we're taking in raw text. We're going to pass that text over to this content. Can anybody tell me how I can do that? What's the easiest, cleanest, most effective, and exacting way? We're going to go ahead and add a request part. Body.raw text. All right, Sumbo, you're killing it today. All right, there's our raw text. And we have response file URL upload. I need to add an output here. We'll call this URL. I'm going to pull in URL here. And just in case we have an error in creating that file for whatever reason, I want to add another API output. We'll just call this success. Call this error. More often than not, as you guys know, I wouldn't just go directly to the output, but for simplicity's sake, in terms of what we're doing today, we're going to do this. All right. Now we're going to deploy another version. We'll call this a test version. So we think it's ready for testing, don't we? So we're going to debug it. So to debug it, I'm going to go ahead and give it all right. There we go. Step. And there is our text. It's a little ipsum lorem text that can generate pretty quickly. And then step through that. And I've got a URL. Let's take a look and verify that that URL is actually containing the text. There it is. So it looks like we are good to go.
Excellent. You've shown us how to create a simple agent and set up its API endpoint. Now, how do we actually export this component for reuse?
Everyone agree? We had success. There's that URL. We have a working agent here, yes? Can I get thumbs up or thumbs down? We have a working agent that seems like we should be able to use the text file creator training agent inside of our other agent and replace what would, if in a typical agent, that file writing piece could be really, really long, right? It could be like 20, 30 components just to write the file, and the only thing you care about is really writing the file, right? So in this case, we're writing something very simple that does something that's relatively complex And so we now want to go back to our issue expert, and there's two ways that we can actually do this.
That's a great point about the efficiency of reusing components. Mike, can you demonstrate how we would import this component into another agent?
One is to go ahead and add in, let me go ahead and close some things up here. We want to add agent as a plugin, right? So when I try and go do this, if I look for, what is it, text, there it is. We can add that in.
Fantastic! We've seen how to export a component and import it as a plugin. Are there any best practices or tips you can share for managing exported components?
There it is. We can add that in. Now I can drag and drop this. So can anybody guess what this actually does? Anyone want to take a guess here? When we're looking at it, it says, okay, so this agent has a prompt and a response. So what this actually does, let's take a look at it, so you can understand. This is more appropriate for an agent that has multiple skills, right? Where we have a number of different things, and you want to be able to use this agent in specific ways in a variety of ways in a variety of places. One of the things you could see here that makes a lot of sense is to actually use the Asana helper agent, right? The Asana helper does things like it will look up a ticket for you. It will write a ticket for you. It will find tickets for a particular project. It has a number of workflows with a number of skills, all that are specific to actually knowing about and understanding how to get data into, out of, and search data inside of Asana. That actually makes a lot of sense for this kind of an agent. It's really agent via agent work, right? And that actually is really, really cool. You can do things that make a lot of sense here. So let's pretend like our text file creator is like that, and that's what we want to do. We want to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and reset debugging here, and then I'm going to debug this and give it a prompt. So what this is going to do is take the prompt, because this is acting like an intelligent agent in a conversational LLM, and then taking your request and working with that request. If we did a good job, we should have a response that gives us that file. Let's go ahead and this, by the way, can everyone see this? This is pretty small. So if we go and look at the prompt again, right? What I did is say, please create a file and return that URL to that file. Make sure that the file includes the text below. And then I added 5 paragraphs of, well, it's supposed to be 5 paragraphs of ipsum lorem. And then it gave me back this URL. Should we test this? Let's go ahead and test this. And there's our text. Right? Do we want to translate from The English, I'm curious as to see what happens. That is very, very curious. Ipsum lorem text. All right. Okay. So there's the use of, or the ability to use an agent with another agent, and that's going to actually allow us to, and by the way, we can also identify which version you want to use prod. You want to test it with the development version or the latest production. So in our case, we can just say prod latest. Okay. Is everybody clear and following and feel like they could actually create their own agent and then use it inside of another agent? Right.
Thank you, Mike. This has been an eye-opening look at the power of component export and import in SmythOS. SmythOS experts, you now have the tools to create reusable modular components for your agents. This can dramatically speed up your development process and ensure consistency across your projects. Remember to start with simple, focused components. Use clear, descriptive names for your endpoints. And consider which parts of your agents are most reusable. In our next video, we'll explore creating more complex, reusable agents, building on the export and import skills you just learned. Keep innovating, keep building, and we will see you in the next one.